And we're moving on up with episode 7 of Sistas. Andy finally gets her apartment door open, only to find that her apartment has been cleared out. No furniture, no food, no nothing. Andy even goes into the bathroom to see if her toilet was stolen. Now, Andy's got to be about the dumbest lawyer I have ever seen in my life. She is dealing with a whole entire psycho by the name of Gary and seems to be super confused about where all her things have gone. Gary does not cross her mind. She calls downstairs to see where her furniture has been moved to, because let's be real, living in a high-rise, I highly doubt that people are going to come in and rob you blind, taking the elevator, video cameras in the lobby and all that mess. So Andy learns that she has somehow mysteriously purchased the penthouse on the top floor. Andy's doorman calls her to let her know that Gary is here. So Andy tells the doorman to go on and send Gary up. I like nice things just as much as the next girl, but this is team too much. It really is. It's giving stalker. It's giving I know what you like more than you do. It's giving, if I can't have you, no one will. Andy needs to stop playing stupid and go ahead and get rid of Gary for real. Gary comes up and basically says that he felt like he had to take it a step further, so therefore he decided to purchase the penthouse in Andy's name, remove everything from her apartment, and move Andy up to the penthouse. Andy's not having it. She's not amused by Gary's antics, and she demands that Gary bring her furniture and her things back to her home immediately. Gary says he can do that tomorrow, but in the meantime, he urges Andy to go upstairs to take a look at the penthouse. Andy refuses. Just as Gary is on his way out, the girls walk in, and Gary is shooketh. So Andy requests that Gary leave in front of the girls, and the girls urge Gary to go on about his business. Now, the funny thing is, each one of these girls has her own problem with the man or men in their lives. So I just think it's really funny how they come over to Andy's and try to boss up on crazy Gary, but they have these crazy issues in their own love lives. But we'll continue on. Okay, and let me just say this. Andy is my least favorite character. I cannot stand the way she acts like a baby when it comes to Gary. In one scene, she's supposed to be this highly sophisticated, highly educated boss, lawyer type of woman, and then when it comes to Gary, she gets to baby talking and turns her eyes down and plays this whole victim, weak female. I cannot stand when she switches between those two personality types. It's so annoying to me. Anyway, the girls have questions for Andy. They want to know, why is Gary here? And where is your furniture, girl? Andy finally tells the girls that Gary purchased a penthouse in her name, cash and escrow. So hold up. I know I originally said that she needs to go ahead and leave Gary alone, but my advice is changing. Andy, you need to go ahead and get this house. So Danny wants to know why the hell they are all standing in this unfurnished apartment when Andy now has a fully furnished, lavish penthouse somewhere in this damn building. Girl, get your bag. We got to go ahead and find it. So Karen spills the tea to the rest of the girls that Gary also got Andy a Rolls Royce that is also in her name. And our good sis Danny has to come through and be the voice of reason. And she says, okay, girl, if all of this property is in your name, this is a good thing. Now I'm going upstairs to find this penthouse so we can take a look at it. Karen is being a Karen, and she thinks that the other girls should just stay put and not go upstairs. But Danny is going to be Danny, and Sabrina is going to go ahead and toe the line and act like she needs to be moral support for Danny so they can find the penthouse. Even though the only thing you have to do to find the penthouse is to get your behind in the elevator and press the letter P. Listen, I'm with Danny on this. It's in your name, girl. You might as well go ahead and enjoy that penthouse. After you check the paperwork and make sure everything went through fine, get a lawyer, not yourself, Andy, because we know you are not the smartest. Get a lawyer to look at all the paperwork to make sure everything is legit. Go ahead and change the keys and locks and keep it moving. So as Danny and Sabrina go up to the penthouse, Karen and Andy are in Andy's old, unfurnished, empty apartment talking about the situation. Andy is sitting there fronting like she is not down for what Gary is doing, but it is clear that Andy is loving all of this attention and all of these lavish gifts that crazy Gary is giving her. Listen, I would too. So Sabrina and Danny are going up to the penthouse. So the girls finally make it up to the penthouse, and this penthouse is banging. It is decorated perfectly. He done put pictures of Andy up in there. It has everything a girl could possibly want. We head back downstairs to Andy's unfurnished apartment where Andy and Karen are speaking. And Andy lets Karen know that crazy Gary is not going to have her things back into her apartment until tomorrow. And Karen says, okay, well, you can stay at my house. And Andy says, yeah, sure, I'd like that. Why would you want to stay at Karen's house? Karen done killed a man in her house, and she has all kinds of mess going on over there. Pastor coming over uninvited and whatnot. Andy, you need to just go ahead and get you a hotel, ma'am. Okay? So Andy says, I'm so sorry, Karen. I know that you're here to talk about what it is that you want to talk about. So what is it that you have to tell us? Karen says, no, I'm not going to tell you until the other girls are here. Now Andy says, talk about it here, but I have no furniture. See, this is that mess I'm talking about. We have to go through a whole rigmarole all for Andy to finally get her ass up these stairs to the penthouse. But we're going to play along. We're just going to play along with it. So Karen says, Andy, did you call Fatima? And Andy looks at her like, are you crazy? No, I did not call Fatima. And Karen asks Andy to please go ahead and invite Fatima. Listen, Karen needs to chill out with all that tough talk when it comes to dealing with Fatima, because I believe Fatima will beat the cowboy shit out of Karen if she keeps acting like a Karen. Now, I don't know if Karen is trying to be funny, thinking that maybe Fatima doesn't know that she could potentially have a gut full of Zach, but the gag is Fatima already knows because Zach told her. So we're heading over to Zach, where he is speaking with Fatima, and he asks Fatima to move into his new home. Fatima doesn't really seem like she knows how to receive Zach's invite. So after a few minutes of couples gossip, Fatima and Zach learn that Gary, the Gary that Zach has been using for financial advice, is the same Gary, crazy Gary, or scary Gary, as Zach puts it, is the same Gary that was dating Andy. They have to stop mid-conversation because Andy is now calling Fatima to invite her over because Karen has some news that she'd like to share with the girls, including Fatima. So at first, Fatima says no, she don't want to hear anything that Karen has to say. But when she says Karen's name, Zach turns around like he saw a ghost or something. Fatima says, no, I'm pretty sure I know what Karen is trying to do here, but I'll let you know if I'm going to come or not after I talk to my man, Zach. As soon as Fatima hung up that phone, Zach was like, nope, no. I wasn't with Karen. I was nowhere near Karen. And no, you're not going over there. Zach said he has moved on to new, bigger and better things, and he's not trying to look back, so he don't really see why Fatima would entertain this invitation. So as Zach and Fatima continue to talk about the situation, Fatima ends up deciding that, you know what, this might actually not be a bad thing. This might be a good thing, especially if this baby is yours. Zach seems to be under the impression that it is his baby, but Fatima, she knows better. She's saying, if it is your baby, this could potentially be the step in the right direction for co-parenting. Girl, then Zach almost got himself stabbed by Fatima. He messed around and slipped up and told Fatima that Karen came around to the house while Fatima wasn't there. Then Fatima blacked out for a minute. And when she came to, she was a little calmer, a little bit more cool, and a little bit more in control. So Zach is going to live to see another day. So Zach takes a big step back away from Fatima, far enough where her arms can't reach if she tries to put hands on him. And he explains to her that Karen came by because some people came by the salon asking questions about Zach. So after Fatima hears that, Fatima says, okay, no, then I definitely need to go. But before I head over there, I need to go home and change into some sneakers. Fatima says she needs to head home, throw some jeans on because there are 4 of them and 1 of me. But she wants Karen to tell her directly to her face why she came round her man's house while she wasn't there. Go ahead, Tima. These girls might have to learn the hard way that you're not the one. Quiet as kept, Fatima got all of them all by her lonesome. The only one that could potentially give her a run for her money is Danny. Now, you saw the way Danny took that shoe off and threw it at that guy in the airport. So I'm just saying. Okay, so we're back to Andy's empty, unfurnished apartment where Andy swears up and down she's not getting back with Gary. Sabrina and Danny come down and they tell Andy just how lovely her new penthouse is. And the girls say, Andy, you need to grab your purse and you need to see this. Then the girls finally convince Andy to come on up and see the penthouse. So we're headed down to the basketball court where the men, Zach, Crazy Gary, and Passa, all learn that the women in their lives are sisters, basically. When Crazy Gary hears that Zach is actually dating Fatima, he looks really, really scary. So Crazy Gary advises Zach to not believe anything that Fatima would tell him about Crazy Gary. But Zach says, you know what? Crazy Gary, Fatima actually said nothing but nice things about you and your company. So Crazy Gary tells Zach that he should definitely believe that. Zach said, yeah, Fatima's not going to say anything crazy about your personal business. You know, she's not like Karen. So Passa got all up in his feelings when Zach made that comment about Karen. So Passa thought he was going to try to be slick and said if Fatima was anything like Karen, then Fatima would leave Zach too. So Zach said, hold up a minute, because Karen did not leave me. I left her. Now the guys are getting all into some wordplay with the word long being used in ways that are not very appropriate while talking about Miss Karen. So before things could get more heated, Gary pulls Zach to the side. Zach and Gary soon learn that they have a lot in common as far as the girls go, because the girls hate Zach and the girls hate Gary. So Gary asks Zach if maybe Zach can talk to Fatima so Fatima can put a good word in for him with Andy. And Zach says, hell no. When I get home, me and my girl will not be talking about you and your situation. So you can go the hell on with that. Zach said, no. He's not even cool with the sister circle. So there's no way he can help Crazy Gary get right with the girls either. Gary then tries to proposition Zach and says, hey, listen, I know you might have some problems with the feds on account of your shady stock transactions, but if you can help me get right with Andy, I'll help you get right with the feds. And Zach immediately gave Crazy Gary the business. Long story short, Zach said he's taking his ball and he's going on home. Now we're moving on up to the penthouse. Andy, with her simple behind, finally makes it upstairs. And of course, she loves everything about this penthouse because Gary knows her like the back of his own hand. He's decorated everything the way he knows she would want. He even puts up pictures of Andy that he knows Andy loves. So as Andy is having a moment taking in her new penthouse, Karen is really on the sidelines hating hard too. So what I don't understand about Karen is she has very, very strong feelings against Gary. And yes, I understand. But how are you going to be so strong in your feelings about Andy's situation when, again, you have a gut full of Zach? Zach, the guy that you used to always call a bum, you basically called him Dusty. You said he didn't do nothing but take up space. But here you are pregnant by him, supposedly. I mean, it could be passes. We don't know. And neither do you. But here you are hating. So because she couldn't stand Andy having the center of attention any longer, Karen finally tells the girls that she can't have a drink with them to celebrate Andy's fabulous penthouse because she's pregnant. And scene. Okay, well, that's the episode. We'll see what happens on the next one. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe.